Welcome to Ignite Your Confidence for women in leadership who want to speak up and stand out. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Here you'll get all of the tips and tools that you need to stand out with unshakable confidence. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everybody. We have another wonderful episode on someone being coached live. And we have Toni here, but rather than me telling you about her, let me turn it over to her and she can tell you about herself and why she wants coaching today.
Thank you. As you might tell, I'm based here in the UK. With coronavirus, the last year, unfortunately, I was made redundant at the back end of last year. I'd worked in project coordination and project management for the last sort of 10 years. So that's really been my background and my base: project management, project controls, project administration. I took a move into a new discipline really this year. So I've actually taken a step into sales, which is completely different. And something that I'm not entirely used to. And I'm really lucky that the company that I'm working for have a lot of faith in me and believe in me, which is great. I just don't have that belief and faith in myself sometimes. And I feel I'm really struggling with my sales pitch. I can talk to people, but I just need that boost and that confidence and the key sort of skills to help me achieve what I need to achieve, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry about what happened during COVID. I know that you're not alone in that for sure. And exciting that you're transitioning into this new thing.
Yeah.
And yet your situation is very common for a lot of people, certainly that I work with, and probably a lot of people you know too, where we have this confidence on the outside, but maybe not so much on the inside. And I might be saying something in advance of what you and I talked about offline, but say a little bit more about that.
Yeah. When I meet people, I'm really vibrant, I'm outgoing, and in my previous job, they loved the fact that they could put me into a room full of people and I would just talk to people. I'm a friendly person. But what you see on the outside isn't what's going on the inside. So I'm actually really shy, really unconfident, even though I come across as outgoing and confident. It's kind of that fake it till you make it syndrome. It's just the confidence. And to go slightly off piece a little bit, it's the same when I'm out and I'm potentially talking to someone of the opposite sex. I get really quiet and I get really sort of, and people don't believe me when I say to them that I go really quiet and shy, because that's not what they know of me. And I've always been like that, and I always doubt myself and my abilities in no matter what I do, which is difficult. And I've tried to be more helpful in my thought process over the years instead of hindering. But it's always a process. You're always trying to teach yourself new techniques in order to move forward, aren't you? And better yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what would give you the most value out of our time today?
Um, I think giving me little techniques and tools to help myself be more confident when I'm talking to potential clients.
Mhm.
Um, I quite often I'll say something and in my head I'm going, "Oh, why did you say that? That's stupid." And I'm constantly reviewing what I've said in my head. So then I say something else. I go, "Oh, but that's silly. You shouldn't have said that either." So I'm just
Yeah,
little tools to help me to stop doing that would be great.
sure. It's that constant judge in your head, right? Or the critic.
Ah,
So, one thing that I want to say right up front, I'm going to start with a moment related to a tool that I have found really helpful for myself and helpful for people that I'm working with. And then I'd love to ask if we can do a role play, because that's my favorite thing of all.
oh, let me get into character.
Yes, exactly. The first tool that I want to share is naming your inner critic.
Okay.
There's a power in that because simply sharing it as if it's someone else can take a little bit of the the magnitude away from that. So for example, I'll tell you, a few years ago, I was at a retreat myself as a participant, and
Mm.
we were encouraged to do this. And my inner critic's name is Gertrude. So she has long gray hair, but it's all up in a bun, really tight. She's tall and skinny. She's got glasses that go down halfway to her nose, and she's always carrying a clipboard with a pen judging me. Like, that wasn't good enough. Why did you say that? Another mark against you. And
Mhm.
simply by naming the person or the critic, it feels like it's outside of yourself.
Mhm.
And that in and of itself can be really helpful to diffuse its power. So now I can say things like, oh, Gertrude, relax. It's going
Yeah.
to be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that's one idea.
Mhm.
And I'll give you one other related to this, and it's something called a fear script.
Okay.
It's actually truly a script where you write down what fear, like what's your fear message. So for example, why did you say that? Or that was so stupid what you just said. And
Mhm.
then writing back to that, well, whatever you as yourself, your authentic and most loving self, confident self, let's put it that way, your bold self, what would she say back to that? And then
Yeah.
you keep doing the script. And there's something about also writing it down, in my opinion, that is super helpful. Well, there's also science behind that when you write things down, of course, there you solidify them more in your brain through that
Mhm.
kinesthetic sense, that sense of touch. So those are a couple of tips that I would offer. And I'm curious to know how either of those lands for you.
So they both land really well actually for me. Especially the writing down. I always, when I was younger, if I was having problems, writing stuff out always used to help me. There's something very therapeutic about getting it out and onto paper and doing that. So that really, really does sit well with me. And giving a name to my inner critic. And then I think, oh, what would she be named?
Yeah, it
Oh,
takes
and
a
what
little
would
bit of
she
time.
look like?
It's kind of fun
Yeah.
because then you know what else happens is that you make light of the situation. It doesn't feel as heavy because
Yeah.
for most of us, like you said, and I was the same way, confident on the outside, and there's so many women that I work with that are in that same boat where
Yeah.
we're confident, but then on the inside we have all this doubt. And that's the big thing that I want to help women with is aligning those two.
Mhm.
So I want to give you one more, which
Okay.
is an affirmation, which is simply because so often we have this negative self-talk, like we've already been speaking of. And
Mhm.
that is then coming up with an opposite thing or statement that
Mhm.
you could say to yourself pretty regularly. So maybe it's something like, people love to hear what I have to say, or I have powerful information for people.
Yeah.
I am powerful or I am unstoppable. Whatever would resonate
Yeah.
with you. But then I recommend people keep it short because if it's too long, it's too much for your brain to kind of take in.
Mhm.
And then that you repeat it a few times around the day, during the day. And I would also
Mhm.
recommend putting it on a post-it in your house in different places. And doing the same one for a week or two and then switching it out to something else, but trying to stick to one main affirmation that you do on a regular basis. And I
Mhm.
have a client, actually, I just posted this on Instagram a couple days ago. She showed me her Apple Watch. She has her affirmation on her Apple Watch set to come up every hour.
Mhm. I think I really like that idea, and I've thought of one already that I can put on a post-it in front of my computer screen. So the company that I moved to work for this year, my role is to grow the business. So
Okay.
it's a really relatively small business, and it's my job to grow it and to start bringing in new clients and making it profitable and doing everything that comes with that. So that's my role. And there's days that I wake up and I doubt myself and my ability to be able to do that. So
Mhm.
just um, something along the lines of I can do this, or I can make this work,
Mhm.
is what I'm thinking. I can make this work, I think, is the one I'm liking at the moment.
Okay. That's great. May I offer another suggestion
Yeah,
related to that
go
one?
for it. I'm just lay 'em on me.
Because I love that one, especially if that connects with you. I mean, obviously, you got to pick what connects with you. I would suggest I am making this work because it's present.
It is rather than past or
Exactly.
future.
Yeah. There's something about the manifestation of it, of stepping into it.
Mhm,
There's, again, a lot of research on this of saying it as it's happening or that it's already happened. Or,
mhm,
yeah, I think I am making it work is better than past, like I have made this work. Because
mhm,
if we think about manifesting something, it's that present tense that helps us to really step into it. Because the cool thing is, physiologically, our subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. And that's
mhm,
why role plays are also so powerful, because once you've done a role play, your brain feels like then when you are in that situation that you actually need that for, your brain
mhm.
goes, "Oh, I've been here before. Like I've done this."
Yeah,
Automatically feel more confident.
bit like muscle memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Same thing. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
are you up for a role play?
Okay. The lights going flying. I got too excited.
I love it. I love it. Lights are flashing.
Yeah.
So let's set this up. Here's what I would suggest. I will be you in this scenario,
Mhm,
and you'll be whoever this whatever the situation is in the scenario that makes you feel the least nerve or the most nervous or the least confident. So could you set that up for us?
yeah. So for me, it's meeting with new or potential clients, because a lot of the times when you meet with someone, you've either been introduced to them or you've found them through a networking event, or so you've only briefly spoken to them and you don't really know anything about them, and they're technically a cold lead, aren't they? Let's
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
So you set up a call with them, and typically what I tend to do in the meetings, rightly or wrongly, is I do sort of a brief introduction, and then I ask them to tell me about them and their business, because that's when they start to tell you if they've got little pain points within the business, and understanding, um, if there's anything that I can do to help them. And I always am upfront and honest with them, sometimes maybe in a detriment to myself, in the sense of, I won't push something if I don't think someone's ready for it. So for example, I spoke to someone this week, and they're in the process of getting to the point in their business where they're going to need a VA and to do someone to do some work for them. And he was humming and hawing and about, he's not going to be ready for at least another 3 months, but should he buy the hours now? And I said to him, look, just take a step back. I'm here. Let's touch base again in 2 months' time, see where you are, and we can go from there. Or if I don't have a tool that meets the requirements for them, I tell them that it's not something I can help with.
Mhm.
Um, and then once they've done their intro and their overview, I tell them a little bit about me and the business that I'm in and what we can do to help them. And it's that second bit from there, moving on from after I've explained about my company Belmore and what we can do. It's that sort of bit that goes from there to, okay, are they going to sign up for us? So the salesy bit in between, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure.
Because I can talk about myself, I can talk about the business, I can talk about how we can help their business, but it's that sales pitch
Mhm. Mhm.
if that
Sure.
I struggle with.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think just to get us into that scene.
Mhm.
So would it be somebody, so they're kind of on the fence and then you want to say, like, here are the next steps, or
Yeah,
okay,
I want to be firm but confident in the next steps, that they are going to buy into me as the person taking them forward in the business.
okay, okay, got it. So why don't you be the potential customer? And
Mhm.
I know I don't know your business necessarily, but I'm going to go with the phrases that I would typically use, and
Okay.
we'll just experiment with it and see how it goes. So
Okay.
we've already been talking, so we'll kind of go with that. So why don't you
Hmm.
be the customer and then I'll respond, then you, whatever you might want to say to me that potentially you hear or would
Hmm.
most struggle with hearing, I'll
Hmm.
respond to that then.
Okay, so the one that I get the majority of the time of, that all sounds really great, but it's a little bit expensive, and I'm not sure if I'm really at the point where I should be moving forward with this right now.
Got it. You're absolutely right. I know price points are different for everybody, and we are potentially on the higher side. So I want to acknowledge that right up front. And of course, we want to make sure that this is something that works for you. What would you say is the thing that is most holding you back right now, or what concerns do you have?
I'm just not sure if the business is ready for it yet, or if I'm jumping the gun a little bit, or should I wait, because the market's really uncertain at the moment, and I'm not sure if it's going to really generate what I want it to.
Okay, got it. So let's play this out. Are you willing to play a scenario with me for a second with your business?
Yeah, go for it.
So let's imagine that because you're absolutely that's fine. Of course, we could talk in a month. We could follow up in 2 months, whatever you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
So if you do that, what do you think will be different in a month or two if we have this conversation again compared to where you're at now?
Well, I don't know is the honest answer, because the way things are with COVID here in the UK is obviously we've we've been locked down. We're still technically in a lockdown. The coming out of a lockdown has already been postponed by another month. It could be pushed back again another month and another month. And I'm really uncertain of how things are going to go now, and how to move forward, which is why I'm not sure if I should push the button on this right now.
Sure, and that makes complete sense. So what I would suggest, if I may, that first of all, let's play this out a little bit. Anything's going to be a potential risk. And so what I want to do is walk you through the scenario of how I could honestly I could do pros and cons for either option. And in the
Hmm.
end, it's of course up to you. But I wouldn't be a good salesperson if I didn't share options with you.
Hmm.
So, if you do it now, here's the price and the payoff. Let's explore that option. And then quick timeout, Tony, from the role play. Then I would explore that with them.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then if you waited, here's what I could see as the price and the payoff.
Hmm.
So part of this really depends on your risk factor, but also
Uh-huh.
in the confidence that I have about what I believe we could do for you. Of course, we want you to make the best decision, but I also want you to know here's how we could project your business or help your business going forward if you did choose to do that today. And the
Hmm.
bigger question that I would have is what what would be the price that you would pay for waiting? What is the pain point that you initially came to me for that we're even having this conversation in the first place?
Hmm.
And so what I'd like to do simply is first see how those land for you right now. What are you thinking?
I think I don't tend to give them multiple options. So I think that's something that I can add in, and that would work. So if we move forward now, this is what we can achieve, and the pros and cons for both sides of
I
it.
do a quick timeout, Tony. This is great. So that was actually for the role. Like I would actually say that if I were in the role play.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, we're just to make sure we're on the same page because because I would actually say, how do those two options land for you?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure that we were because I know it's sometimes weird with role plays. Like, are we in it? Are we not? So yeah, so keep going with what you just said. So that would help you with the options.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
would help me with the options, uh, to understand more about if now's the right time or if I should wait. So I think exploring both of those options is a great idea.
Mhm. Okay, great. Excellent. So then now kind of out of the role play now. I, I would say at that point, after if the person's willing to look at the options, and I like to give options because everybody wants those, and it also
Mhm.
helps me make a case for why. So I
Mhm.
always want people to feel empowered when they're making a buying decision, But
Yeah.
also if I feel, and this is the other thing, of course, I'm not in your role, so I don't know exactly, but I'm always going to do what's best for the person. If I believe, this is a crapshoot. It may or may not
Yeah.
help you right now. And I would probably say that, but then I would lean toward, here's why I would still suggest doing it. It's still going to be
Yeah.
and yet now, and I'm using the word risk pretty lightly without, again, not knowing your business, but it's
Hmm.
things, the main objective that I want to call out here around the role play
Hmm.
is that it's a constant like collaboration. It's not me saying, well, here's everything we do. It's
Hmm.
here's what you want to think about. Here's the payoff. Here's the price. What are you
Yeah.
comfortable with? Where could I stretch you? I mean, because that could be another thing, depending upon your relationship. I might even say something like, I want to stretch you here for a moment, or push you, or whatever words you would use,
Yeah.
challenge you, if you're comfortable with that. And that's what I've often done with people, especially if they've, and then I would say the number one thing that I learned from, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting her name now, from an interview that Marie Forleo had with uh, Alex, who wrote the book around negotiating for women. But
Hmm.
Ask for More is the name of the book.
Okay.
I love the main thing when a client says no, don't just take no for an answer. Stop and ask, which is what I said to you in this role play. What is your concern?
Hmm.
Or something about what is your main concern? Because sometimes, for a lot of times, it's not about money. It's
Hmm.
about fear or insecurity or looking bad or making the wrong decision, and then ultimately looking bad to your company for making that choice. So there's so
Yeah.
many things underlying it, but that's such a helpful thing. Like when I said that out loud, then you were able to give me information that then I could use.
Yeah.
Oh, and then at the end that I would typically say, whatever the person decided, I would make sure that if they said no, that we had a date on the calendar for meeting another time. Or saying, could I follow up with you in 2 weeks, and could we put a date on the calendar now?
So quite there's a few that I've had conversations with that haven't moved forward, but at the end of it, I've said to them, can we touch base again in sort of a month's time? And the majority of them say yes, and we schedule something then and there, so we know that we've got the follow-up booked. I mean, I've been speaking to one potential client. I think we've had our third touch point together, and he's definitely not at a point where he requires the services or the products that we offer. He knows he's not there, but
Mhm.
he likes the fact that I've acknowledged that, and he likes the fact that I've said, I get it completely. Let's talk again in a month's time. If you're ready, then great. If not, we can have a little chat, see how business is going your end, and continue that. And he's really liked that, and I've done that with a few others. So it's just, I suppose, having confidence in myself and what I'm doing, and knowing that I'm doing the right things. And
Yeah.
you've really affirmed that with me with some of the stuff that I'm doing, and you've given me some other tips and tips and tricks that I can bring forward myself and implement into what I'm doing.
I'm so glad to hear that. Well, I mean, that's really what it's all about, isn't it? It's the
Mhm.
tactics that I also want to say, trust yourself, because everything that you're talking about, and Toni, from the moment I met you, you are so sincere, you're so genuine and just warm. Like
Thank you.
I'd love to give you my business. I don't even know if I would be a client.
Let me just get the letter over to you to sign, and we'll get you.
Exactly. So I do need to wrap up, but where can people reach you?
So the company that I work for is Belmore Virtual, and we're an executive assistant company, virtual executive assistant company. And I'm on LinkedIn, or you can contact me through the website, which is belmorevirtualassistants.co.uk.
Awesome. Well, it's been lovely to talk with you as always, Toni. Thanks again. And so glad that everybody was able to listen and hopefully take away some tools as well. So
Brilliant. Thank you for having me, Karen, and thank you for your time.
you're welcome. And that's a wrap of another episode of Ignite Your Confidence. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Thank you so much for listening. If you love today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. If you're interested in more tips and tools around confidence, please join me over in my Facebook group called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laus. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.